Hi friends, my name's Kat. Welcome to my channel and today's video. So we're just going to do a quick little video today going over my top 20 highest rated books that I've read and rated on Goodreads. And we're just going to see if I agree with any of them, if I think that these actually deserve to be in my top 20. So a lot of these are books that I've read a fair bit ago. And quickly, I have my laptop here. Going over the list, I'm noticing also that a huge amount of these are parts of series, which I'm not that surprised about. Typically, as people go further into series, the further you are in, the more likely I think it is that you're gonna rate it higher, because at that point, you're usually, if you're continuing on, you're usually fairly invested. So let's just dive right into this list. Number 20, with a 4.58 average rating, I have Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I don't really talk about Harry Potter anymore on this channel. It is, I don't support the author, so, you know, back in the day when I read it, sure, probably would have agreed, but right now I really don't. I don't ever think about it. I don't, you know, I guess at the time, sure, I would have agreed with that. Right now, I feel weird about it. Number 19, we have Heartstopper Volume 4 by Alice Oseman. 100% agree with this. Every single volume that I read of Heartstopper was a 5-star for me. And I think Volume 4 was one that dealt a lot with mental health, which is probably why it was so highly rated, because these are very emotional graphic novels. They're following two boys in love in high school and a lot of just their friends, their mental health struggles, their struggles coming out, and just they're really adorable. They are the cutest little graphic novels ever, and I 100% thought that every one of them was the sweetest thing in the world. The Wisdom of Crowds, actually. So number 18 is The Wisdom of Crowds by Joe Abercrombie, and number 17 is The Trouble with Peace. So those are books 2 and 3 in the Age of Madness trilogy. So both of them, actually, that's crazy, both of them have a 4.6 average rating, which 100% agree with. I do have to say, I think that after reading this trilogy, I've decided that Joe Abercrombie is one of my all-time favorite authors, and I'm going to read pretty much anything he comes out with. I do have a few backlist books by him to get to, but this series, I honestly would say changed me, which is kind of ridiculous to say, but I can't remember a fantasy series in recent memory that has gotten me quite as obsessed as I was with this one, and with rereading all of it. Also, I think completely, I don't know if we'll see if there's any other books by him, but I do agree that the Age of Madness trilogy was much better than the First Law, and these books, they're within the same world, and I think there's 10 books total that are all connected, and we're following different people within this world. There's the First Law trilogy, and then a few standalones, and then the Age of Madness, which is following basically the descendants of the First Law. And I really think that this series was fantastic. The Age of Madness in particular was following basically an industrial revolution within the people, and them realizing that a monarchy perhaps isn't the best thing for the peasants, and that it only really benefits the upper ruling classes. Really great. Rhythm of War is next by Brandon Sanderson with a 4.61 average rating. I do think, actually, I don't know, I've only read Rhythm of War once. I am in the process of reading the Stormlights right now, well, rereading them, and I don't remember a crazy amount about what I thought about this book in particular. I do think we'll see other installations of this series as we go higher up the list, just because I know they're all crazy highly rated. But Rhythm of War, I can't remember really intense thoughts about it. It was kind of, maybe it's because I've only read it once, but I feel within the words, or within the Stormlight Archives world, it feels a little forgettable in comparison. Okay, so next, I guess we're starting on the Sarah J. Maas train, which I am definitely expecting quite a few books from her as well. And we have Queen of Shadows, which is book 4 in Throne of Glass, and this is a 4.61 average rating, same as Rhythm of War. Not surprised about this one. I do think that if you are reading Throne of Glass, book 3 is the one that really pivots the entire series and drastically changes the direction that it's going. And I know a lot of people don't necessarily like books 1 and 2. Book 3 changes a lot of people's thoughts on it, and then book 4 kind of goes into a really exciting direction. I don't think Queen of Shadows was my favorite within the series. Thinking back, it is slightly forgettable in the context of every other book that happens within it. So for that reason, I am a little surprised that this one is the one that so far we see the first. Maybe there'll be others within Throne of Glass series. We'll see. The Will of the Many by James Islington. This has a 4.62 average rating. Zero shock from this. This was my favorite book of 2024. I have seen so many people read it recently. Every single person I'm seeing seen who's read it is saying something similar, that it is one of the best books that they've read in like recent times and one of their favorite fantasy releases in quite a while, which yeah, it was fantastic. This is a kind of Roman inspired fantasy world where we're following basically this empire that is slowly coming in and taking over different kingdoms. We're following like a main character who his family died following like the invasion of this empire. He's now living as an orphan, just kind of getting by, and he catches the eye of this nobleman within the society who ends up like adopting him essentially to have a ward to send to this magical school and to investigate all of these murders. And it was really fantastic, really interesting, just unique magic system, unique world building, just a lot of it really great. So I'm happy to see that. Ooh, okay, next one, The Women by Kristen Hanna. I just read this last week actually, and I'm shocked. So it has 4.62 average rating, which is the same as The Will and Money, and I did not like this one. I honestly thought this was kind of terrible, like not in content. I do think the content was good. We're following a woman who ends up enlisting in the Vietnam War as a nurse, and we're following her time there and her return to the US afterwards, and how veterans were treated terribly following the Vietnam War, and also just because they were treated terribly, the lack of support and the way that her life like completely falls apart after she returns and is dealing with like intense PTSD but has no support for it. I do think the content was really good. I just personally didn't like Kristen Hanna's writing in this one, which is crazy because I do think that she is a pretty good writer, and this is honestly the only book that I've read from her so far that I have not loved. I think that she, like, at least from what I've read, she's a great writer, but yeah, something about this one just like it didn't do it at all for me, unfortunately. So yeah, that one I guess is the first one that I'm really disagreeing with. Oh, next, okay, no surprise, next, Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, book 3 in Stormlight Archives, 4.62 average rating. This I think is my least favorite within Stormlight Archives. It is the one that kind of drags a little bit. It's the one that's a little bit boring, but again, not surprised that's on here. This series is so intensely popular. Makes sense. You Better Be Lightning by Andrea Gibson. This is, I don't remember this one a crazy amount. I think it's it's a poetry collection. I read it, when did I read it? In 2021. The poems range from close examination of the deeply personal to the vastness of the world, exploring the expansion of the human experience from love to illness, from space to climate change, and so much more in between. Interest. Okay, I don't remember this one at all. 2021, that is around the time, like 2020, 2021 was a period when I was reading a lot of poetry and was getting really into different poetry collections. I haven't been as much in recent years, but I do enjoy a good poetry collection. I rated this one 4 stars, so I guess I didn't fully agree with that 5-star rating, or that with it being on this list either, but interesting. So it's 4.62 and it only has 5,000 ratings, so no, I guess everyone who's read it has considered it to be really good. It makes me curious. Maybe I need to go back and reread that one and see what I think. Next, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, 4.62 average rating. Same thing at the time. Sure, at the time I would have given it 5 stars. Now, I'm probably never going to reread it, but it's on there. The next one, I honestly think this is hilarious that it's on the list, and I kind of agree with it, but the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. I read it last year and it was such a ridiculous fun ride. So this is the whole series. There are like 5 short novellas and they categorize it basically as one book on Goodreads, but it's just this like female serial killer who is dating an FBI agent, and she is working to get revenge against all of these men who wronged her in the past, and we're following like as she commits these murders, and her boyfriend, who's the FBI investigator, is also in charge of figuring out who the serial killer is, who's her. It was wild, a wild ride, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. I think this one, it was super fun. I did give it 5 stars, and it's kind of one that like was 100% for the vibes, entirely because it was just so much fun. I couldn't write it anything else. We have Empire of Storms next, which is Throne of Glass number 5. Again, no surprise, same thing I said earlier. Throne of Glass, it is such a intensely popular fantasy series, and yeah, I'm not surprised surprised at all. Also, again, like any Sarah J Maas book, I'm not shocked it's on here. The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This one has a 4.64 average rating. This is the one that I am really not surprised by her. I did give this one 5 stars, but I read it, interesting, I read it back in 2016, which makes me really curious if I were to reread it today, if I would give it something similar. But from what I remember, this is 2 sisters in World War II, I believe, who are fighting Nazis in different ways and are both going about surviving the war in different ways. I remember, I think I cried reading that one, which again, don't do very often in books, so I guess I enjoyed it. Next, Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. Zero surprise. This has a 4.65 average rating, and it is 100%. If you are looking at the Court of Thorns and Roses series, this is everyone's favorite. It is definitely, I think, one of the books that put her on the map and one of the books that has made her intensely popular. Zero surprise, zero surprise. The Way of Kings. Okay, interesting that that one is, I mean, actually, I'm not surprised that this one is higher rated than the other installations of Stormlight Archives, but yeah, Way of Kings, it has 4.67 average rating. Really good. Yeah, one of my favorite books of all time. Don't disagree. Now, we're kind of at that point too where like these average ratings are insane. This is kind of insane how high they are. Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This is following a sexual assault case and was like a truly intense read, but I think a very necessary read for a lot of people. Very emotionally impactful, very devastating to read, and one that like I will never forget about. I can very honestly say that. Like it, I think like very much like impacted me in a lot of ways. Very good. A little surprising that it is the only nonfiction on here, though I guess like a lot of, like I was saying earlier, a lot of these books are continuations in series, and yeah, very popular big fantasy and sci-fi series. So if I want to know, also we're into our top 3 right now. I want to know if you have any guesses down below of what the top 3 might be, and just based off some of the other books that I've read in this video so far. So number 3, Kingdom Vash by Sarah J Maas, book 7 in the Throne of Glass series. This was like the fantasy book to end all fantasy books, you know, like it was such a fantastic ending to an epic fantasy series, and I think absolutely deserves its spot on here. Yeah, 100%. If there's one Throne of Glass book that's going to be the highest rated, it definitely should be this one, and that has 4.71 average rating. Number 2. So honestly, my only surprise is that this is the only book that we've seen within this series. So we have Lightbringer by Pierce Brown, which is book 6 in the Red Rising series, and unless I'm wrong, I think this is the most recent one that was published. But yeah, literally my only surprise is that there haven't been more of the installations of Red Rising within this list, because I would definitely thought, especially the later books, are very highly rated. So this one has a 4.75, which is insane. Very well deserved. I do think that this is probably one of the best sci-fi series to ever be released, and one of the most like epic sci-fi series, and this was definitely like an insane installation into this one. It was truly like painful to think about. I haven't been able to, like, I want to reread this series sometime soon, and I haven't been able to think about it because I just, a lot of bad things happen in that one. And our number 1 top rated book, this actually, I'm very happy about this one. So it has a 4.76 average rating, again, insane, and it's Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, which funnily enough, this is actually my all-time favorite book. So I guess a lot of people also agree with me. It's book 2 in the Stormlight Archives, and I think that this honestly is just like the book that all fantasy books should look up to. It is absolutely like the best book within the series too, and it's kind of made it hard for me to continue on in Stormlight Archive. I don't think that anything will be able to compare to how good this one was for me, but yeah, it was truly a masterpiece, and I will forever say that this is my all-time favorite book. So I'm glad people agree. So thank you for watching today's quick little video. I want to know if there's any of these that you disagree with, or any of them that you think should have been higher within the list. It was really interesting to see this. Not particularly surprised that so many of them were Brandon Sanderson and Sarah J Maas, but a little weird that like only one nonfiction and like not as many installations from Red Rising. So I want to know what you guys are a little surprised about, or yeah, like if there's any of these you absolutely think should have been within these top 20. So thank you for watching today's video. If you haven't already, I would love if you would consider subscribing, and hopefully I will see you in a video soon. Bye.